Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I represent the proposition side for this debate. I am the first speaker, and the second speaker, my name is Lyheng. The second speaker is Thanit, and the third speaker is Sorya. This house believes that study of French language should be eliminated from Cambodia public education. Before I get into presenting my main point to support this argument, I would like to define one specific key term, which is eliminate. To eliminate is to remove entirely, and therefore, this statement could also be phrased as the study of French language should be removed entirely from the Cambodia public education. Furthermore, I would also want to emphasize on public education, which means that this debate does not mean that study of French language should be eliminated from the entire education system, but only from public education. Our team has come up with 4 main ideas. The first 2 will be presented by me, and the last 2 will be presented by Thanit. To begin with, the reason why the study of French language should be eliminated from Cambodia public education because of the competitive edge that private school has over public school. By competitive edge here, I mean the quality that they can provide compared to the quality that public school can provide to the students. In terms of quality, the reason why I said that private school has higher quality in terms of transferring French education to students because of the hour and the concentrations, more focus on students. By hour, if you look at our Cambodia public education, the study of foreign language has only 2 hours a week. However, if you study at a private school, we have more hours to study. We have to study 5 days a week. More importantly, there are the concentration, the focus of students and the focus of teacher. By the focus of student, I mean that they only have to focus on studying French at private school rather than worry about other subjects. And more importantly, teacher has more focus on their student by giving them more practice, by giving them more homework compared to the public school. The second idea is that if Cambodia public education still persists on teaching foreign language, they should focus more on the rising language rather than French language. That is the reason why French should be eliminated from Cambodia public education. And by the rising language here, I mean the international language that we all know, which is English, and the rising language Chinese. To support this argument, let's look at Cambodia. Right now in 2015, we in the period of Asian Economic Community.
Point, please. So, as you mentioned that the public education, it involves all kinds of public, including primary, secondary, and higher education, which is university. So, do you mean that abolish the French language also includes to those levels of university?
What I said about public education here is that not the entire education including private and public. This statement is to eliminate from public education, not private. We can still shift this education of French language to the private education. So let's continue on my point. We are now in Asian Economic Community period, and within Asian country, one of the strongest economy is Singapore. And in Singapore, they speak English and Chinese rather than French. Therefore, if Cambodia students focus more on studying Chinese and English, they have better opportunity in the future when they graduate. On top of that, Asia has also China. China right now is one of the biggest economy in the world. Therefore, studying Chinese would provide our students a better opportunity of finding job and also, more importantly, a better opportunity in communicating with the society. On top of that, in Cambodia, we have seen a lot of investment, and those investments come from China. Chinese investment has grown, not only in the service sector and the industry sector. We see garment industry investment by Chinese, and also financial services investment by China. Especially the Bank of China has just opened. Therefore, if we provide students an opportunity to study Chinese, we give them a better opportunity in finding jobs in the future when they graduate. All in all, after these two arguments, the first one is that because of the quality that the private education can better provide over the public school, and because the rising language is not French itself, the important language right now is English and Chinese per se. Therefore, French language should be eliminated from Cambodia public education. Thank you.
Good afternoon, respected judges, distinguished audience, ladies and gentlemen. Today I would like to express my sincere appreciation for all of you to have spent such a priceless Thursday afternoon to be here. And I would like to also thank you, my beloved proposition side, to have presented such a very forceful speech, which somehow not good enough to convince our team to believe. Ladies and gentlemen, 20 years ago, I'm glad that French education is still in a public education, French language is still in public education, and somehow my mom pursued it, and she studied the French language in her primary and secondary school, and she can pursue her medical science in a higher education. And I'm glad that now she's here representing one of the doctors of our family. Why do I stand here to be against to this motion? Because of two reasons. First, it restricts the freedom of choice of the individuals. And second, we want to encourage more language diversity, and we also want to promote the public school image, which the first argument will be presented by me, and the second one will be presented by the second speaker of our opposition side. But first of all, I would like to point out some of the flaws that the propositions have just made. First of all, the first speaker from the proposition side have talked about the quality of French language or the quality of public education to provide to the students. Ladies and gentlemen, now we are not pessimistic about this issue just because of the poor quality, and we totally eliminate the French language from a public education. It means that it covers from the primary, the secondary, the higher education. It restricts the chance of the individuals to pursue what they want to study.
Point of information.
Yes, please.
When I say that I want to eliminate from public education, and you said it also starts from primary, but I want to ask you, does on the primary level, does the education system provide students to study foreign language in the public education system?
Ladies and gentlemen, foreign language they do provide. Right now we have choices for students to rather pursue English language, for example, or French language. We have choice for them to pursue. And so, continue to the point, they present that it's because of the poor quality. But it does not mean that this poor quality we cannot deal with. The quality is another side to be dealt with. So, trying to be optimistic rather than pessimistic, we believe that French language should still be in a public education. And also, the second point raised by the proposition side about the English language, we do acknowledge that the English language or the Chinese language is a very important language which all of us must pursue. But just because it is an important language, it does not mean that we have to eliminate French language totally from public education. So move back to our points. We are strongly against this motion because first, it restricts the freedom of choice of the students themselves. We know that French language is a very, very important and a fundamental language for students to pursue to their higher education, especially on the field of pure science. What do I mean by pure science? Right now, in the curriculum, when in a public education, when each of us study to grade 10, we will be able to choose between whether we want to study pure science or social science. What I defined by pure science, it refers to those that is related to, for example, engineer, doctor, or other medical science that we want to pursue. And we know that French language is a really important, basic
point of information.
It's a very fundamental language for them to pursue. And And also, for example, at the upcoming ASEAN integration, where we allow the freer flow of skilled laborers to flow from one country to another, we know that those pure science is a thing that we need. Because from the minority point of view, we know that everyone knows English, everyone knows Chinese, but the minority of us also wants to study French, in which this language is what we lack of, and the something that is we lack of is something that is important. And I want to see that Cambodian engineer, they will go to Singapore to work. I want to see Cambodian doctor to fly to the Philippines to work. And another one, pointing out to the freedom of choice, I want to also emphasize that a public education is free for everyone. It's also a goal of the government to actually provide a free education to people who is in need. I do acknowledge that, well, people or kids might want to go to the private schools to study French. But what is the role of the government? Is it the role of government to push those kids who wants to study French away, or they want to take them in? And that second point will be more elaborated by the second speaker of my team. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine all of those kids in the rural areas which they really, really want to study French in order for them to pursue a higher education of, for example, being an engineer or being a doctor. They do need this basic language for them to move on. And if we eliminate or we totally remove it from the public education, that means that it limits the opportunity for them to actually pursue what they want. And what is our role here? Our role is to provide opportunity to them or to limit those opportunities from them. So if you believe that we limit the opportunity of those poor kids with no money, but they want to also study French language, you vote for the proposition team. But if you want to provide the opportunity for them to actually pursue what they want, please vote for our team. Thank you.
Is to come up here and going to present you all about the topic today is that studying of French language should be eliminated from Cambodia public education. Now, let's see, most of us who know how to speak French, even I myself, I don't know how to speak French. I believe that I want to rebut some kind of information that point out by the opposition team. It seems like it's not very convincing at all. First thing of all, she said that around 20 years ago, her mother used to study French and then she could pursue her degree in doctors, and now she's doctors. But that is 20 years ago. Now we're talking about the current situation. The current situation, we focus more on the other language rather than French. And the other one, the main point that raised by the first presenter of the opposition teams is that they need a freedom of choice. With its freedom of choice, they can be able to study not only in public, they can choose it to study in private sectors. We did not say that we're going to eliminate this kind of language that people cannot be able to pursue in language anymore. They can have a choice to study in the private sector, as my friend had already mentioned it. And the other one is that what evidence that have shown you that studying French is the best opportunity for you to pursue in hard science. Doesn't mean that only French you study it, you can pursue it to study in advanced or in science, hard science subjects. And also, you can see that you said everyone have already know how to speak English and Chinese. So that's why we should focus more on French. But can I ask you all, my beloved audience, can everybody here know how to speak English and Chinese? Not all, not everyone can speak it. And also, we can see that you try to convince that some of the students who in rurals, they want to pursue
Point
their
of
interests.
information, please.
Okay.
So for example, for those kids in the rural areas which they don't have enough money to go to school, to pay for private school, for example, but they're really keen on studying French language. So how you can deal with that as a government?
I'm about to answer the questions. So now that you already mentioned about the rural students, they don't have money to pursue their study in the private sectors, but the government can be able to help to provide the financial aid, to provide scholarship for those who have benefit, who have opportunities, or they have skill in develop in this kind of subjects.
Point of information.
Yeah, same. So that's why the government can also play the role in helping those kind of students who cannot be afford and they could be able to study French. So now let's not waste enough time. I'm going to present my two main points that are going to convince you that we should eliminate French from the public sector in Cambodia. First thing of all, we should try to focus more on the other subjects. What I'm talking about here is just two measures. It's the first one, we try to eliminate the time that studying French, and then we try to focus more on the time studying in the other subjects. And also, when we try to conduct research and try to learn in one subject, we need a financial aid, we need many research in that area. So that's why in French, it's not very can see a very great opportunities for Cambodian students. Why do we have to waste our research, our money spending on those areas, while we should focus more on the important subjects that are going to help develop our own economy. So now let us see. First thing of all, I would suggest on both hard science and the social science. What hard science that we do? We can see that nowadays, many skilled labor in our country are very low degree in education in hard science. Most of them try to pursue like the banking, finance, like accounting, but all engineers and the other things that are related to hard science, they have a very low knowledge in it. So that's why we try to focus, we try to put it from the private, from the high schools, so that they could be able to pursue their main skills in university and they can be able to work well. While French language, they can be able to study in the private sectors and they could be able to learn it well also. And we need now is the skilled labor because we already are in 2015, which is very close to ASEAN integrations. With ASEAN integrations, we facing a lot of problems about the skilled labor because we are afraid that when the ASEAN integration comes, the skilled labor in Cambodia don't have enough knowledge to compete with the other foreigners, with the other neighboring countries. So we need highly for the students to be able to pursue and understand their skill importantly about their majors when they study. And also, we can see that in social science, which is economic, is also a very important subject in our studies, which is mostly you can see that now in high school, they already create the book like in economics, but still they haven't implemented to study yet because most of the school they didn't even study about economic in high school. That's why we can see that we need more people to understand in this field. To come combined with hard science and this social science, we can see that the economic, the one who study, will play as the brain, will play a major role in helping, and also the other one is the hard science are the mean or the tool for those brain to control and help to be developed in our country. And the second one is about the opportunities. We can see that when we study French, it's having a very low opportunities. First thing about is about the field in university. Most university fields are about we study in English. All of most the research are in English. Most books, most information, most sources in internet are in English. They are only French in a small fields that we can not be able to work on if we want to pursue in different kind of fields or different kind of work. And also with jobs, if you try to go out and look for the job, we can see that most of the job requirements, they need English speaking. They don't need French a lot. French need only about the jobs that are related to the works that needed. And I want to add one more, is like the competition here, is that we study in English, not in French. So we have more opportunities. Thank you.
Okay, all my respectful judges, my beloved of Proposition Chhy, and all my beautiful audience, good evening. This is such a great honor for me to stand here today. And before I move on to tell you all the arguments why I support my team, let me prove to you, let me tell you why this guy is completely wrong. Okay, so now let me take you back at the definition of this debate. Ladies and gentlemen, Proposition Chhy completely does not understand what they are saying. They say that public education, it includes every type of public education, but we have to acknowledge that public education does not only include primary, secondary education, but also include those at the university level, such as RUPP, which is my lovely university. Okay, and one more thing, ladies and gentlemen, Proposition Chhy just claimed that, okay, we don't need to focus on public education because people can go to private school to study. But my question is that, what is the role of the government? Is the role of the government
Point
to
of
push
information?
those things? Is the role of the government to push people away and then like neglect of the citizens? No, the role of the government is to help promote their own public education and to attract students to come, not to push those students to go to the private education. Ladies and gentlemen, and what about those poor people who cannot afford private education and they want to study French? So what are you going to do with this? Okay, one more point, ladies and
Point of
gentlemen.
information.
Yes?
Okay, I want to ask you that which part that we have said that public education is not important. Can you clarify?
I didn't say that you say public education is not important, so you misunderstood, sorry. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Proposition Chhy also claimed that right now we can, like everyone speaks Chinese, everyone speaks English, so why do we have to study French? Ladies and gentlemen, they forgot to think about the country's whole benefits. We are right now lack those people who are good in pure science, for example, food chemistry, doctors, engineering. That is why we want them to study French to pursue what we lack. And this is the intention of our opposition side, which we think about the long-term benefits, not just individual
Point of
benefits.
information?
The proposition side has said. Sorry. Okay. One more thing, not at all yet. They said that money can be invested to help those rural area people, that they cannot study French, so that the government can provide money and those rural area people can go and get education from the private school. So my simple question is that, so instead of using money to help those people, why not just use money directly to improve the quality of education? Isn't it better? And the money that you have those poor people doesn't guarantee that all the money will also go directly to those people. No thanks. Okay. They also said that money can be used in what is popular right now, for example, banking, accountant, and so on. But ladies and gentlemen, they are showing irresponsibility of the government. The government is the one who's supposed to promote what is in the public sector, not push people away. And they also mentioned that as an integration, we need skilled people. And what do they mean by skilled people? Skilled people are those who are in the doctor area, who are in engineering area, and that is why we need them to learn the fundamental skill, which is French, and that is why we should not eliminate French from the curriculum of the students. Okay, now, as my first speaker has mentioned, we cannot eliminate French because that will affect the freedom of the people, the freedom of the children. They, for example, some of them, they need pure science in order for them to go on and pursue their careers in the future. So what if you remove French from the curriculum? That means you do not care about those people. You push them away to the private sectors. Okay, so now let's move to the second argument, which is
Point of information?
no thanks. The second point, which is encouraging diversity of language and improve public image of the public education. We acknowledge that, okay, English is really important for students. Everyone wants to learn English. But it's even better to embrace diversity. Why? Because we already have human resources in French resulting from the French colonization from the past. And if we remove French, it's like we neglect all of those French human resources, and even if we ask them to like adapt themselves in order to learn English and teach English to the students nowadays, it's really difficult. How can you expect those old teachers or maybe teachers that have never learned English to teach English? It is like almost impossible. One more thing is that this will have an impact on the poor student, as my first speaker has mentioned, is that they are interested in learning pure science or simply interested in learning French, but the government removes French language and push them to like pursue French at other schools. So I believe that this point is completely wrong, because the government really needs to take care of the citizens' need, not to like give up easily. Just because French is not a popular major or subject right now does not mean that the proposition should neglect it and quickly move to other sectors or to improve. No thanks. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's important for us Cambodian people to improve the public image of the public education. We understand that because right now people do not trust public education. That is why they move to other private schools or university in order to pursue their education. That is why right now it is high time for us to use our money and invest our effort into improving, restore back what we have lost, into making things better for the Cambodian people. Okay. In conclusion, my team still strongly supports that we can never, we cannot remove French language from public education. We rather put it as a choice for students to choose, because number one, we believe that students deserve every right to choose whatever they want to study. You cannot restrict them to study only English, only Chinese. They have the choice to choose whether they want to study French or they want to study English. Second, we embrace diversity. As we are about to move in ASEAN, we know that, okay, the diversity is important. That is why we cannot eliminate French, because we embrace diversity. Ladies and gentlemen, as I am a Cambodian, and as you all also Cambodian, we understand that French still play a very important role in students' career in Cambodia, and it will be beneficial for those who are poor. So please stand by the opposition, and together we can make Cambodia a better place for future generations. Thank you.
Good afternoon, honorable judges, ladies and gentlemen. As the third speaker, so first of all, I would like to structure my debate by rebating the opposition side, then further illustrates the points that supports our four main arguments, and last but not least is to make the summary of the arguments of our proposition side. First of all, I would like to rebate to the first speakers of the proposition side. The first speaker said that she has her mom pursue doctorate educations by the helping of French language while she was studying at public or at a young age. But this case, I would like to say that hard science does not only exist for people to pursue a future or higher educations only in France, but also in the current days, people can pursue hard science careers such as engineers and doctors in various countries, which also provide the same quality of education.
For your information,
yes.
And we know that the qualified teacher that existing nowadays only know French to take those hard science. So how can you deal with that? Where do we have English qualified?
Can you prove that? Because I think that in the current educations, many of Cambodians teachers are actually receiving their doctorate or even bachelor or doctorate from many good and high quality countries besides from France. So first of all, I would like to say that there are so many scholarships that are provided to Cambodians, especially for those who are studying hard science such as engineering and doctors in Czech Republic, in China, and even in Singapore. And these countries does not require us to understand French language. So what is the point of using France as the mandatory language in our public educations? in our public educations. And another point is that she states that for those young students who are talented in studying French language and they want to pursue their study, but they do not have the money to study the language, they can actually receive the government support. I believe that the government, they can actually provide a financial support, or even NGOs, that they can provide those students the money if they are talented to pursue their French language education. Another main point is that because public educations, teachers in public educations, they actually receive less salary than those who are actually teaching in private education. So there's a difference in quality if you actually study in private and public education. You can see the difference because I myself.
Information.
Yes.
So what, according to what you say, you mean you give up on public education as the role as you are the government?
No, in foreign language, I believe that it's much more better for students to pursue their education in terms of language in a private sector, private school rather than a public school. And the third point is for the second speakers. For second speakers, they said that government love the citizen. They should provide choice for the students to study French and the language that they love, and should not restrict those opportunities for them. We did not restrict the opportunities for those people to pursue their studying their language that they like, because we only say that studying French language should be eliminated in public education system, not in private education system. This means that they can actually pursue their French language studies in a private schools. And the next point that I would like to rebate is that government love their citizens. That's why they foresee the future and the long-term requirements of language that are uprising, rather than just only stick and stay not up to date to the type of language. For examples like France, which have a very low opportunity, both in workplace, in the current workplace, as well in for those who are actually studying or trying to pursue their doctorate abroad. And as our main evidence is that even the public speaking, right now, we are using English, not French. So back to our four main arguments. First of all, we believe that there are more languages that have better competitive advantage for students to study. And one of those is Chinese, because why? In Asia, there are large populations of Chinese people. And even despite of the population's numbers, they also have the largest economy in terms of the region in Asia as well as in the world. So we can foresee that there are so many great opportunities both in investment as well as in job opportunities for people to pursue if they understand the language. So the next one is English. In Asia as well as ASEAN, we have seen that our official language used is English. So in order to prepare ourselves for the upcoming integration in 2015, we should not only look at our past language, which is French, but we should foresee the future and be prepared for ourselves studying language that are actually have a lot of populations and a lot of opportunities for our job placement in the future. And the third point is that we should focus on the other subjects, use that time to focus on other subjects that can provide us with a higher contributions to the development of economy, and also provide the opportunities to develop our leadership skills. For example, instead of choosing making the French hours for studying French, we can use that hour to study social science, such as economics, or even leadership, or having a club like debate club in order to come and have the opportunities to compete abroad, as well as to study hard sciences in order to develop our high-skilled laborers. And last but not least is the size of opportunity. We can see a huge opportunity if we understand and update ourselves instead of staying stick to one language. So thank you very much.
Items are both mentioning again here. French language to be eliminated and Cambodian public education. We are not discussing who can speak what language. I don't care whether you can speak English or Chinese, and I don't even care how many languages I can speak. What we care is whether we should retain French in our public education or not. And they did not touch on this issue. They simply turned a blind eye on that. And this is no simple matter. It is such an egocentric policy. You care only about yourself. I speak English, I can survive, majority can speak. What about those minority? They need French. I'm not saying that English is useless. English cannot be used as a means to study hard science. But we need to be realistic. We need to be realistic. What we have right now, we need to do what we want with what we have. We only have teachers who are qualified in French to teach. And they turned a blind eye on that. They did not touch on that issue. They just shouted out as if they know everything. And actually, they told you the truth. I accept it's all the truth, but not the whole truth. I'm going to tell you the whole truth. They simply turned a blind eye to some truth. Okay? So they tell you that eliminate means to completely remove, but they didn't tell you when is it reasonable to eliminate something and how are we going to do that. They simply, we are going to remove French. How? What about those teachers who are teaching French? Where will they go? And our public education, will we give up on that or what? And also, we start with the first one, the rebuttal. They also mentioned that English has a competitive edge. I acknowledge that. It's the majority. But let's consider the poem from Robert Frost. Two roads diverge in a yellow wood. I, as one traveler, cannot afford to choose both. I chose the one less traveled by, and I make all the difference. We, Cambodians, need this difference. We lack people in hard science, but we have plenty of them in social science. And we know that the majority of the teachers who are qualified to teach these subjects used to learn French. And if we shut that door, what is our hope? No thanks, later. Okay? So they also claim that, so the public school, the great public school is not the one that can thrive without problem. The great public school is the one who can fight and stay within the problem. We know that private school, they have more money, they have more quality, but are we going to give up on public education? No government around the world will ever decide on that. We can do with little, start by little, although we can win the fight, but we still retain our hope. And the government side asks us to give up hope. You have more quality, I send my student to you.
Point of information?
No, thanks. And also, all right, and another one is you need to understand that they actually mentioned something different here. The first speaker, they talk about now the majority of people use English, so we prioritize English. But they did not understand that the majority of teachers are teaching French in hard science. So are we going to support French in that sense? You can see this inconsistency in that Theam line. And also, here is a way of shaping career path, or it's a better word, to limit student choice. We limit your choice. You have no choice in public education. You come here, you study English, even though in the future you know you will learn French in hard sciences. And it's not a good point. And also they think that skilled labor, we need skilled labor, of course. But I'm not saying again and again, I'm not saying that English is useless. We can learn hard sciences through English, but our resources that we have are mainly in French. We cannot abolish that. And students who come to school need to learn that as well. As I say, if we shut the road, we cannot see the difference that we make. We simply go with the manager, economist. We have plenty of those people, but we lack doctors, nurses, dentists, engineers, who are in hard science, and those subjects are taught in French. Okay? So, and their policy doesn't mean...
information?
Wait. Okay. 5-stop issue, I will return to you when I finish. The 5-stop issue of their policy, first of all, they did not tell you. They include everything. Their public education stems from primary to higher education. We know that higher education also includes medical science and engineering, and these subjects are being taught in French nowadays in Cambodia. So how are they going to do that? They simply turn the blind eye. They don't know about that. Okay? And also they don't know they did not talk what's wrong with French. They only talk about...
information?
Wait. They only talk about what is right with English and Chinese. I did not hear any reason. What is wrong with French? We did French for pure science, but they just told us that English and Chinese are good for ASEAN. If you want to go to Singapore, you can do that. But what about French? Here we're talking about French. We need to keep the clear focus in order to get the fruitful result of the debate. And another one is the needs and human resource. Our students need French in order to build their bridge to higher education where the subjects are taught in French. And our existing human resource are teaching those content through French. Where will they go if we eliminate that? Okay, any question? You can ask me now.
You seem to imply that pure science can only be taught and only taught in French in university in Cambodia. Can you prove that? Can you say that only French is being taught in pure science? Because I believe myself I study pure science in English, in math, in physics, in chemistry. So can you prove exactly that only French has been taught in pure science? Thank you.
Okay, maybe I cannot prove that only French is being taught in pure science, but I can prove that the majority is being taught in French. And we need the majority in order to have majority human resource. If you focus on the minority, it's a bad policy. It's a wrong headed. It will fail somewhere soon. Alright? We know that we underwent French colonization and we had a lot of qualified teachers in French. Again and again, I'm not arguing that English is useless. Just that French is being taught nowadays by our teacher. Okay, and their policy didn't meet the test of the three principles, practicality and consequence as well. They did not consider about the consequence of this policy, where those French teachers will do, and how are we going to meet the needs of the students who are, when we have a lot of students and we don't have enough qualified teachers, that will be the problem. And the student is another quality. So the last one, I just want to share with you this. With language come knowledge. When we decide to eliminate language, what does it mean? Think by yourself. Thank you so much.
Welcome to our reply speech. And good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. It really breaks my heart for the proposition side to say that 20 years ago, my mom is out of date. It's really, really touched my heart, and my mom is sitting there too. Ladies and gentlemen, we eliminating by stating that we put French language in public education, it does not mean that it is compulsory for everyone to study French language. We just provide more diversity. We just provide more chances for people to choose whether they want to study French, whether they want to study English, or whether they want to study Chinese, which is not really in the public education right now and is raised by the proposition side, which I think that it's somehow irrelevant. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me be here, and it's our last chance for me to prove that why you should vote for the opposition team. I have identified three main clashes in this debate. First of all, the role of the government, which is the public education versus the private education. The second clash is the freedom of choice of the individuals versus pursuing something that the society wants that provides more opportunity in the markets. And third clash is the importance of the minority language, which in this case is French language, and the majority language, which is Chinese or English. So let me clarify each point. First of all, the role of the government and the private education. So when we talk about the roles of the government, is to provide more opportunity for people. And when we talk about the private education, they talk about the quality. But ladies and gentlemen, on this stage, we do not talk about the quality yet. We talk about opportunity, whether we can provide to those kids or not. Well, the proposition side might state that the government can also, give scholarships for all of those students to study French language in the private sector. But why don't we take all of those money in order to foster, to strengthen the quality of the public education in the French language? So by this means, I believe that right now it is not how we think that what went wrong. It is more crucial to think what have we done and what will we do next. And in this case, I still believe that we should foster the quality of French language in a public education.
For the second clash, we talk about the freedom of choice, which is, and also wanting to pursue something which actually meets the market. I truly acknowledge that English language is a really, really important language for us, especially to the ASEAN integration in 2015 right now. But it does not mean that French language must be ignored, because all of the language should be weighed, equally important. It does not mean that English is more important than French language. So every language has its uniqueness, has its values, and we shouldn't ignore that. The third point, we talk about the importance of the minority language, which is French language, and the majority. So it does not mean that the majority they do this, and we must follow that. In the same means that it does not mean that you study English, I must study English too. I choose what I love to study. If you study English, based on these three main clashes, I still believe and I still strongly against this motion, and I would like to call all of the audience to also stand against this motion as well. Thank you.
Is to convince you that our side, our brothers and sisters, still want to eliminate French language from Cambodian public education. First of all, I would like to recite two important ideas that the opposition side has come up. Is that because we eliminate the French language educations from our public education system, we deprive students from the freedom of choice to choose, and also we eliminate the diversity of language. For your information, by eliminating this, we did not eliminate it entirely, which does not mean that we eliminate we deprive their freedom of choice to choose language. They can still choose to study in the private sector. They can still have diversity of language by studying English here and French in the private sector. And now I'm going to recite my four points again. The first one is the choice is that private sector has an advantage, has a competitive edge over public. We go into education to get a qualified education. And if public school cannot provide a qualified French education, why not shift them to the private sector when they can provide a better quality to students, so students can learn French and understand French rather than in public school. The second one is that we did not want, if the Cambodia public education still want to persist on teaching students with foreign language, we say they could teach them the foreign language that is now more important than French. Because we are a developing country, we want our citizens to have a better job, to develop our own country. So study of important language is much better than a minority language, which is English, or in this case, Chinese as well. Our third point is to eliminate the French language hour that is taught in the public education and replace them with a much more important subject, such as art science and social science. Because language now can be studied in private sector, and in public sector, the education, the government has the role to provide all of those educations to students. And an important subject is art science and social science in terms of physics, mathematics, economics, and all of those social curriculum. The last one is the opportunity that the French language provides to students is much less than other important language, especially English, in terms of scholarship, in terms of job opportunity, in terms of want to studying abroad. English proven to be advantageous than French language. So all in all, we still convinced and believe that the study of French language should be eliminated from Cambodia public education. Thank you.
Now